So we're on edibles.
Naturally.
Let's make sure we've wrung out edibles here. So you got to extract the medicine from the plant into the fat after you decarboxify it. Did I get it right?
Decarboxylate.
Decarboxylate it.
Just say decarb. That's kind of the short version.
That'll sound like I know what I'm doing. After you decarb it, you make the butter or whatever the fat is, and then you use that in the making of your treat, of all of the marshmallows and all these crazy treats that people are distributing. You can basically, I mean, you could make salad dressing, right? If you put it in olive oil. It doesn't have to be a sweet treat.
So again, I'm not intentionally shouting out this company, but if you sign up for their email list, they send out recipes like all the time. Or if you go to their website, they have a ton of recipes. And yeah, I know there's different methods that some companies use that they don't exactly speak about. So I'm sure there's other ways. This is just the common way. This is the way that people can do it at home, is by infusing one of these types. So yeah, if you want to make salad dressing, you want to make, so you can make hummus. I mean, you can do all these different things.
That's fun.
Ice cream, adding it to smoothies, right? So there's a lot of different things you can do. I mean, put it in your coffee.
Is there anything that you can do to make it absorb faster? Because I think the transit time is what a lot of people say to me. The reason that they don't like edibles is because when they're uncomfortable, they don't want to wait 45 minutes for it to kick in. Can you talk to us about that absorption? Is there anything we can do to speed that up, or is that so individualized?
I would say it somewhat is. Yeah, because the thing is that for most, and there's even tablets that you can get that are, I mean, you can consider that an edible or consumable, as I like to call it, like a beverage, right? It's consumable. So the thing is, and I was just about to touch on sublinguals, which means it's under the tongue, right?
Yes,
you have
let's talk about that.
Mucosal membranes under your tongue that will absorb faster than an edible. So you're looking more at like 15, 30 minutes up to an hour versus 2 to 4 or maybe more hours.
Wow. Okay. So if you put a tincture under your tongue, that's faster than a consumable because it's liposomally absorbing. Is there something about it touching your saliva? I just heard the other day from someone to hold it in your mouth for as long as you can, a cannabis tincture. What is that about?
So it does take some time still. And I want to say usually what I advise people is 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay.
And that's not really easy for everybody. So, there's the intention that goes into it. And depending on the product or whether or not you DIY'd it yourself, the flavor maybe is not favorable to you. So I always tell people, if you want to mix it with your coffee or you want to just sip something afterwards, flavored water, juice, whatever your beverage of choice.
A little chaser, yeah.
Yeah, especially because usually, I mean, I like to say sublinguals because tincture is usually associated with an alcohol-based.
Okay, great. That's a good distinction. So a sublingual version of the medicine, which could your sublingual be your cannabis extracted in coconut oil? Or are we talking about a different kind of extraction for a sublingual versus a consumable?
Similar extraction, yeah.
Okay.
And I use MCT oil myself, which is very specific parts of coconut oil. And it helps a lot with weight loss, digestion, focus.
We squirt it in the smoothies in this house. It can really give a little boost of energy. So the cannabis plus the MCT, which is smart because it's got a nice viscosity, that oil. So it's probably easy to drop under the tongue or, whatever, drop by drop, right?
Yes.
So you could have a measured dose and then titrate your dose up. We will get.
You don't even need me anymore.
No, that's how you use. That's how I have people use psilocybin. So I'm just,
right. Yeah. So
maybe segueing the conversation, but I want to make sure where are you at with the ways that we can consume?
So we're at. I mean, we've been talking about sublinguals, right? So just to talk about beverages. So these are like seriously popular, especially here in Cali right now. I mean, juices, sparkling water, sodas. And of course, beer and wine, right? Because we have We have lots of wineries and breweries like Napa Valley, Sonoma, all these different places where wine is very,
Prolific.
people come out here for that. Yeah, and
part of the culture too.
big in the West right now. So
so cannabis wine? Cannabis wine?
I've never tried it personally.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah, there's so many different things.
Now I think it's great. Juices, smoothies, like that makes a lot of sense to me. A soda, sure. But like, so you drink the soda and then you're high afterwards. Is that what's happening? Are you talking about?
Typically they are, and I've seen different ones, like I said, but they're usually in lower doses.
Lower doses. Okay.
So maybe 10 to 25 milligrams
okay.
per serving. I mean, I've seen higher, but
no.
Like just thinking, just kind of talking about this right now, I feel like if you're new to this, or you know, maybe it's been a long time since you partaken in all of this.
Sure.
I would really like for people to experiment for themselves and make their own concoctions, or they can team up with me and I can advise you step by step. So
I love that.
Yeah. And so I was even going to say for you, as my personal sort of advice for you, is try out infusing, because you have that MB machine.
I do.
Infuse some of that MCT oil and start trying out some drops for yourself.
I really appreciate that, Daniel. I think that could help me further my intention to ease off of the combustion and take it in. You know, one thing that I really have learned in the last year of really being intentional about my use is that if I know that it's a plant that I am choosing to use on a regular basis, I want to anticipate that the discomfort is going to come every day, because it does, being in a chronically inflamed body, and just anticipate it with an edible dose a few hours before, an hour before, whenever I can transition from, work mind to more relaxed mind, more focused mind. And, it's been really helpful for me to just like intentionally choose it and accept it, instead of being like, oh, I have to resort to smoking because I'm so weak and I can't muscle through all of my discomfort, right? And my depression and my pain and this thing in my neck and all, whatever, the nausea, whatever, anyone is experiencing. And so it's by shifting my perspective and choosing it like a medicine, and a medicine that I can say like, thank you for helping me. Thank you for getting me through this part of day that is typically such a struggle for me. And once I began to honor the plant, it really, something shifted for me and my use, and I didn't need it as much.
I love that. Yeah. It's, you said that beautifully. And one of the phrases that I feel like has really been so alive in me lately is I get to use this to help heal myself.
Yes.
Right. And that's why I told you, it's like, what do you do? Are you a coach? And it's like, I guess I'm part coach, but I do so many different things that I like to just call it self-healing facilitator. I'm just showing you, I'm guiding you how to heal yourself, how to come back to yourself, right? Your true nature, whether it's plant medicine or breath work,
or both,
or energy work. I mean, I'm really loving, like you call yourself a medicine woman, right? And I'm the more I'm kind of reflecting on my whole journey and what I'm about right now. Yeah, I'm a medicine man too. So I'm with you. We're in the same.
Yes.
We're the same tribe.
Oh, I'm so happy that you brought your medicine here today. I want you to help the listeners understand dosing a little bit, because this is an area of great confusion. How much do I take, or how much do I know I'm getting when I smoke? For the average person who's starting to use this to ease the discomfort, physical pains and emotional ones that the average person is experiencing in the world these days, what do you suggest is a good starting dose, or a way to find a dose?
Yeah, this is where a lot of folks get impatient, right? And this is also where I come in, because we can talk about these different nuances. but it is so important. And you've heard of like start low and go slow, right? That's a very common expression in cannabis and probably other even psilocybin, right?
Psychedelics
So
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's all about microdosing. So I mean, that is the safest and most efficient way. If you're just starting out, or if it's been a while, right? Because like I said, the product has changed over the years.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Stronger.
And one other big, key aspect to take note of is what other prescription medications.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's one really big thing to be cautious of.
Okay.
There are certain contraindications that can happen depending on the type of medicine that you're taking.
Give us a common medicine that the average person might know of that it is contraindicated with cannabis. Do you know one offhand?
I'm be real, I can't think of one at the moment.
That's fine.
But yeah, there's certain ones. Let me see. Let me take a look. That interact.
Yeah.
With,
so with psilocybin, the contraindications are SSRIs, the antidepressants. You may not feel the impact of the psychedelic in that same part of the brain where the medicine is doing its work. So they just kind of cancel.
Thank you. Yeah. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
Which is wild, but that's something to consider.
So people should be aware. They should consult an expert. And what were we talking about? Dosage. Okay, so something like 5 milligrams, right? That's considered a small dose of cannabis by a lot of people.
I would go lower.
Okay, good. Because 5 milligrams to me is like a Saturday night. That is not something that I would take on a Tuesday afternoon when my back pain starts and I'm a little nauseous, right? Too much, and then I'm down and out. So I usually a 2.5, like even a half of a 5, and still might be a tad bit much. Do you suggest people start even lower? 1?
Yes. So I think one thing to consider, of course, the go-to advice is consult with your physician, even though the reality is a lot of doctors are not hip to the natural remedies.
Nope.
And I mean, we started to talk about, pregnant women. I mean, there's like ganja mommy groups out there. There's people that are really,
so we're consulting with the experts of really experienced people. And I have to say, this is legitimately how I have healed so many of my things, by consulting with people in groups who have similar problems, who've done the research, who know their stuff. Crowdsourcing is real. There are a lot of smart people. And that is the benefit of the internet in our lives, is that we can access this kind of information. So you're saying consult with ganja mommies if you're pregnant.
well, no. And I think I came to that because to speak to what you were just elaborating on, that there's different people that have experiences.
That's right.
That can speak to it in a very personal way if you're just looking for the information and you're not looking to be diagnosed or told what to do.
That's right. Good. That's valuable. That's super valuable. So start low, go slow. In order to do that, can you tell how much you're getting when you smoke? Is there a way, do you just have to experiment, like half a hit, 1 hit, 1.5 hits? Like what is, how do you even titrate?
Yeah. And again, your intention and your desired state matter.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
So the other thing is your personal history, physiology, your lifestyle matter. And I know you're mentioning smoke. So I would say 2.5 to 5, like the range that you were talking about. I would say if you're ingesting it, right? An edible, even a sublingual, but I know people that are very sensitive. So if you know already that you're sensitive to different medications or things that alter your state, I would go under 2.5 for an edible. So when you talk about smoking, I think we touched on this earlier on, right? Or maybe it was before we were recording.
Before we hit record.
We had our secret conversation. But there's the intention going in, right? Already your state of being. Right. And I know we'll talk about more ceremoniously about how to
Yes.
get into it later, but
Yes, but this is so
there
good, Daniel.
there's how long are you taking a draw or a hit or a puff, whatever you want to call it. There's half a second, a full second,
Right.
right? And then holding it. I don't really advise people to hold it very long, especially if they're new to it.
Okay.
That's, you know, I mean, you have to be conscious of all of your things, right? So it's like,
Sure.
do I have a sensitive throat or lungs or mouth or any of that thing?
Yes.
So when it's smoking, yeah, I would say taking a 1 second hit
Okay.
one time
Yep.
and giving it at least half an hour to an hour.
Okay. And then you
Right.
can always take more.
You can take more, right?
Yeah.
And that's the titrating. And that's,
Yes.
to me, that's the best way that I've found. Now there's also, we talk about how technology has really evolved and changed the game.
Yeah.
There's devices that you can get that will actually tell you exactly the dosage that you're getting from one hit. Yeah.
That's
So
nuts.
you want to do 0.5, you want to do 1 milligram or 2 milligrams, like it will dose it for you.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot
So
of
there
different
is a way to be accurate about your smoking dosage. If you all want to go look up that implement Daniel's talking about, that's amazing. And edibles and sublinguals, consumables and sublinguals are our best avenue to being specific with our dose.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, I really lean on or into sublinguals all the time because of that same reason. And it's the next quickest onset from inhaling.
Yes.
Is the sublingual. Like I said, maybe 15 to 30 minutes.
That's a good amount of time. That's not an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. Look, I've taken edibles before, crappy, kind of, not crappy, but homemade by friends, gummy, and nothing happened for like almost 2 hours. And then I ate a meal or something, like something changes in my digestion, right? And then boom, all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, I was not expecting this 2 hours later. And that's the part for me that makes, and I've heard stories from people, right? I took an edible, I took too much. I had like near-death, like people that I know felt like they've had near-death experiences because the size of the edible and the way that it hit them was just too much for their nervous system. So I guess, that's the start low and go slow. That's why we do that. And any words of advice from people who I've talked to several people in the last couple of years, any words of advice for someone who's had like kind of a traumatic cannabis experience, but then wants to come back and see if there's any medicinal value in it for them?
And you're speaking specifically to like that nightmare edible experience? Like
I don't know. Do you know? I mean, is this a common story? Why do I hear this all the time? Yeah. Okay. So nightmare edible experience, we're calling it.
Well, you can call it lots of different things, but that's, I mean, that's like really, yeah. The
people that say they like can't move, they like felt paralyzed, right? And it was like they couldn't do anything for like 4 hours. They couldn't even talk. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean the wildest thing that I can think of that happened to me from smoking is that, and I've never done anything like this since, but this is probably at least 12, 15 years ago, and I was smoking with my friend. And I mean, we were, it was recreational for us. We were just getting really, really high. Sure. And, we're hanging out and it got to the point, he's like, well, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to sleep. And I'm like, shit. Okay, I guess I'm going to go home. And I attempted to drive.
Oh no.
I felt like my foot was melting into the pedals and I could not tell whether I was hitting the gas or the brake. And I was like, oh shit, I got to pull. And I just pulled over and I went to sleep. Or I tried to go to sleep for like an hour.
You. This is a great story. You did the right thing.
I did the right thing. And so for folks, and I think the common thing is that because folks don't know that there is that longer onset period, they take a little more. They take a little more. Or it tastes so good. They're like, oh, what are you eating? So this is my advice for those people. Is really, again, try the sublinguals first. right? Let's find the right dose, and then we can try to take that, take that dose and maybe even go under that with an edible if that's what's desired, right? I want something that's going to last longer. Let's try to find that minimum effective dose. That's another term that is sort of
minimum effective dose,
right? Because we want not all these other things to happen. We want that specific desired state, right? That kind of just right. It's not
the sweet spot. I call it with microdosing psychedelics. It's like too much is not good. We don't want too much. And it's taken me really years to understand the true sense of microdosing and being okay and feeling safe, not being blown out, and then I think that's a trauma state. And I think maybe people with trauma are drawn to the blowout, right? Of like taking 3 bong rips and going that far. And there really is something very healing about being able to back it up and back it up and back it up and be okay with less. So where were we going with this? What were we talking about? Oh, just advice for.
We're talking about And I would say if it's something, maybe you haven't had that experience, but you don't want to have that experience. And maybe you like to DIY it, or people that are going to DIY it. Make a medicated batch and make a regular batch. Because if you want to have fun with it and munch, and maybe you're not actually certain how potent your batch is, let's take a little bit of that, and then we'll just munch a little bit on these other ones that are not medicated, that are
just regular old brownies that you will still appreciate once the weed kicks in.
Right, exactly. And I think at some point it would be really fun for me to maybe give a tutorial on like making this stuff at home. That would be really fun. I mean,
you better save that for your private clients. You need to contact Daniel. He knows how to make all of these things. Or you should be putting together some master classes. Yes, this is valuable stuff, especially the MCT oil, because you've really sold me on sublinguals here. Like, is that something you would do with a client, is teach them how to make the sublingual?
I can. Okay. So I one of the other things that I like to do that I feel like is sort of a specialty thing, because the reason I was led to doing this kind of as a guide, as a coach, is when I worked behind the bar in a dispensary, I would have these conversations with people, but there was only so long we can talk, right? Especially they didn't necessarily come in here to have a full conversation, but sometimes we did. Sometimes I was talking to people for 20, 30 or more minutes. And I don't want to say the expectation was that I get them in and get them out, but when you're a very busy establishment,
gotta move.
It's kind of like, we got to keep it moving. So I felt like there's a lot that I can offer, just knowledge wise and personal experience. Like I told you, my experience is my credentials. I am certified, but it's also, I feel like my experience is really what sets me apart. In that, if you've never been to a dispensary, or some people are afraid of it. They don't know what to expect.
I've never even walked into one.
Yeah, and if you don't know somebody that has, you have no idea what you're getting into, right? It can be an overwhelming experience. For me, it was intimidating the first time.
Really?
And I ended up working there, but so I would have these conversations, and I thought, there's so much to cover. We can't do it in this even this 20, 30-minute pocket, right? We've got to have a few conversations. And so what I was going to say is, one of the things that I like to do, if it's not helping people kind of discover, if you don't have a DIY type of personality and you want to just be guided on what products to use, I like to see what's available to people in their area. Maybe not just by mail as well. So what I like to do is make it as personally tailored to somebody, also based on what is accessible to them.
Right, of course.
So to make it an even easier process, I can do the research on what is available at the dispensaries or the sources around you, or what maybe you can get by mail, because CBD is available by mail.
That's right.
That I can do this work, and then we can have a conversation. Yeah, we can have a conversation. I can go over, options with people, and it just makes, it's kind of like having that dispensary, somewhat of a dispensary experience in the comfort of your own home.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Custom. Yeah. And then you're getting to really advise on a dosage approach and a particular strain and all of the specifics that are so individualized based on what someone's presenting with, right? What they need support with.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about Topicals.
Yeah. So Topicals, personal favorite. Like I said, I've been making my own for about 5 years now.
No kidding. How do you use it?
It's funny because I use it for the common reasons that most people do, like pain, inflammation, soreness. But I also like using it just as a moisturizer, because I use good material. Like I use, natural organic materials to start with. Quality stuff. So I'm using it on my hands. I'm using it on my lips. Hands and feet, by far my favorite places to use topicals.
Do you absorb? So what happens when you use a topical? Can you get high from using a topical? Can you feel the impact? Can you feel any psychoactive impacts? I know it's going to relax the muscle.
So I want to say the short answer is no. Okay. But there are certain essential oils, right, or even terpenes, that can go beneath the surface level. Yeah,
on the bottom of your feet, right? And then it's in your system.
Right, which is why the bottom of the feet is one of the best places to apply essential oils. So I would say, if anything, and this is my experience, this is observations, it's very unlikely, right? Okay. Is it possible? Anything's possible.
Anything's possible, but generally you're using a topical for an acute thing, for something that's happening, like you strained a muscle. Like my husband keeps straining the same spot over and over. So you could put the cannabis salve. Is it a salve?
Or a lotion or massage oil. There's also lubricants out there.
Oh, I bet that's fun. Yeah.
So if you never heard of Foria, I would look that up, but I don't know if it's available to you where you're at. But
there's a way to get anything. Yeah.
There you go. and then there's also transdermal patches, right? So those are meant to break through, and you probably could get some intoxicating effects. Yeah.
So that could be something that someone like a cancer patient in a dispensary could get a patch.
Sure. Yeah. Especially if it's a very localized area.
Sure.
That you need it. I mean, like, if it were prescription, you can get like fentanyl or things like, which is that's super strong. But just to give you an idea of, like, that's what they're usually used for, is some very acute localized pain. There's even suppositories.
Oh, wow. Well, that's very fast delivery of any medicine, right? I mean, you're feeling that fast, and that's probably someone who's like severely ill. Like, what a gift that is for someone who's just in the throes of chemo or something where they need something to stop a situation.
Right. And those can also be DIY'd. I've never done that myself specifically, but those can be DIY'd. So, aside from just skincare, which is what I like about it, that you can kind of craft it in a way, or get a product that's been crafted in a way that's great for skincare and not just pain and inflammation, right? So when we look at, I'm kind of going back to my notes about dosage. So if you're sensitive to intoxicants, I would top out at 2.5 THC to start. When it comes to CBD, consider that anything from like 25 to 30 milligrams and up will be potentially sleep inducing. It's going to have that type of effect.
Wow.
Like a popular dose for nighttime are like 25 milligram capsules of CBD from what I've seen. We talked about inhalant inhalation, 1 to 2 draws for 1 to 2 seconds. and repeat after an hour if you're not getting the desired effect.
This is slightly off topic, but I have never been able to fall asleep after taking cannabis. Like, so many people tell me like, oh, it knocks me out, it puts me to bed. Even in the most indica variety that I could possibly get, it's so stimulating to me, like maybe energetically and creatively. And it just like, there's too much going on for me. And usually my heart rate is a little bit elevated if I'm using two. I don't know if that's just me. So
Definitely
yeah,
not.
can you, no, okay. So can you fall asleep easily? Is that like a common thing?
So I think this is when we come back to microdosing, right? Minimum effective dose. So I would say without the intention, people are going by a generalized feeling of what they want to feel like from this smoke, right? And I mean, immediately when you're talking about that, I thought sublinguals and topicals. That next, right? We could talk about that. But if it's the smoke, I would keep it pretty minimal because it is psychoactive.
Totally.
Right? Has
very stimulating, even in a very small dose for me. I'm all of the ideas are connecting, like all of the things that I, little strings that I left untied all day are like coming back together. So yeah, so I really like what you just did. So I'm brought back to my own words a few minutes ago. Sometimes when you have trauma, the appeal is to blow out. Like, I just want to go away, right? I just want to escape the situation I'm in. And what I hear you saying is trying sublinguals and topicals could be a pathway for me to go gentler and slower and smaller, because even the littlest hit of smoke that's when my heart gets going and I'm racy. So there's something here for me with absorbing sublingually and putting it on my actual pain points, right? That I'm trying to get rid of with a smoke, but it may be better served just putting it right on the muscles back here.
Right. I would even go here too. Around the temples, right? Very lightly.
Do you want to send me some of your salve so I can try it?
Yeah, let's try it. We'll talk about that after for sure.
All right, I'm teasing you.
And just, no, I'm totally dead serious.
I'll take it.
We were talking about the smoke and how it's so hard to determine an accurate dose from smoking a bong, smoking a joint. We can do the math and say, okay, 1 gram of this 20% THC would be, this much for the whole, if you smoke the whole thing. But what about if you just take this much?
Yes.
Right. So it's hard to determine. So I would say even more, the intentionality has to be there if you're going to smoke, right? Even more, to keep it even more natural and healthier for yourself, instead of just using a straight up lighter. And I don't have any like right near me right now, but Hemp Wick. I love Hemp Wick. So there's a couple of different benefits. So, when I'm just inhaling this fluid. Right, exactly. So you're lighting the wick for maybe a second to create a flame, just like an incense. And then you can get really specific on where you're placing that flame. Like when you light with a lighter, you're lighting up damn near the whole bowl. Fire, yeah. Right? So you can really kind of minimize the area of what you're burning and be specific about it. Like, I like to just kind of look at it as I'm splitting the bowl in half. Like, okay, I'm gonna light this side right now. Okay. And then now when I'm ready to take the next one, I'm lighting the other half. I love that. Hemp Wick. Hemp Wick. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. And that's the product that is you light with a lighter and then you use the hemp wick to light your bowl. Yeah, it looks just like a candle wick. That's right? Great. But it usually comes in a ball or like a wound up little string, Amazing. All right. Yeah. So that makes it a little bit healthier too. Yeah. You're not inhaling the lighter fluid. Brilliant. Exactly. These are really good tips. And you're getting really efficient with how you're burning and using the flower, the medicine. Well, it just brings more to that intentionality piece that you're pointing to here. That's so important, right? If we're going to do it, let's take a deep breath. Let's be really clear about why we're doing it. Yeah. Let's minimize all of the hazards here and take it with appreciation. Mm-hmm. And even when we talk about whether it's smoking or edibles, in my experience, if people are not not mindful in the first place, they get impatient and fast, right? This leads to unpleasant experiences.
Yeah.
And whether it's you had an experience where you smoked way more than necessary, or you ate too many servings of gummies, and just, found yourself, or you were found wandering around babbling or vomiting or feeling extremely hungover, both in the moment and the next day.
Yeah.
So everyone that I coach or teach, it's all about intention. And so even just to go back to the topicals for a moment, I'd say even with those, less is more. A little goes a long way.
Okay. Good.
Especially if they're well made.
Yeah.
Some top quality ingredients, right? Well mixed, well made.
Let's have a little conversation about using the plant to expand your state or to connect differently.
Again, with the intention, right? And what we were saying, or what I was saying at the beginning, right? People have been using it as an offering to gods, to ancestors.
The peace pipe. I mean, is this the Native American peace pipe? Is cannabis what was in the peace pipe of Native Americans? Do you know?
Maybe not all of them, right? I mean, some, ayahuasca has been used the same way, peyote.
Yeah, and tobacco is a spiritual plant as well. When you talked about mixing those two.
Oh, definitely. I mean, especially in Latin America, I would say, I can speak to, or I can say that much. But let's say just taking the time, taking a breath.
All right, let's do it together. You're going to coach me through this.
Do you have any just, loose flour to start with that instead?
Yeah, not in the bong?
Not in the bong.
I can take a little bit out of here. No, I don't have it up here, but I've got.
Okay, no problem.
I got it up in here.
So just even holding it in your hand, this is kind of a multi-sensory experience.
Okay. Right?
Holding it in your hand, appreciating it with your eyes. Right? And I know yours looks like it's a little burnt already.
A little burnt. I can't quite see the terpenes, but yes, I'm appreciating it.
But even if it's, you can close your eyes and take a breath, right? Imagining the hands that contributed to it being right there in your hand.
Whoa.
Right? From a seed planted months ago, cared for, nurtured, right? Water and nutrients and love. And possibly from the sun itself, right? The sun and the moon. All of the energy that went into that, so it could be here. Right? Seeing that, feeling that, smelling it, right? Both before and during. Right? There's all this different tasting it.
Yeah, I mean, you can even be, if you grind up your flour, it's like, these are some of the things you can even be thinking about and slowing down around instead of just, I'm grinding my flour so I can get to the part where I smoke it. It's like just being intentional about all of your contact with the plant.
Exactly. And when it comes to, no, you got it.
Coach me. Now what? What?
I know you would feel it. So maybe it could be before, it could be during, or it could be after. And just asking and listening, what do you want me to know?
What do you want me to know?
Right? What is the message?
Oh, I love that. Okay. What is the message?
You're communing with the plant spirit. Right? It was alive at one point.
Yeah. I mean, this is the show me the way piece with psilocybin, like just communing with the plant spirit. That resonates with me. And so making the ask, connecting, and then
intentionally taking that hit, right? Maybe your breath is even different as you inhale, now that you've taken that time to appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, that was a well-earned hit.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And even,
it's a whole different ball game.
yeah. And you can, and I mean, you can say a prayer before, during, after. May this medicine flow through me, right? Allow me to be in the vibration that I desire. Allow me to step into my higher self, whatever it is,
Yes.
right? Allow me to feel, the calm that I need before this calm. And it's really, it's just allowing you, even like we talk about the breath work, right? That was kind of the thing we were leading towards, is getting to that point where you're just aware of your breath, aware of yourself.
Yes. In your body.
Right? In your body. Yeah.
Yeah. Or feeling the connection of the mind and the body, feeling both at once, right?
All
Instead
of
of
it.
just being in the mind or trying to get back down into the body. Yeah. Being with all of
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm. And we talked, you mentioned earlier about going away, escaping, right?
Yes.
For me, I'm always talking about how are we turning inward, right? This is not to escape. This is not to get away. This is to turn inward.
Whoa. That's powerful, Daniel. That's really powerful for me to hear that, because while I don't use it as an escape emotionally as much anymore, it's a physical escape, right? And so it's like, how will this make the discomfort in me go away? And what breath work has taught me to do, and that plant medicine could not, and it is a compliment for breath work because of, is to be with the discomfort, which is like a totally new concept to me. Really, you're supposed to make the pain go away, right? And so, yeah, how do you see that, this going within that you guide your clients to is so beautiful? How does that couple with someone's breathwork practice or what they are desiring for their transformation? Like, how can you use cannabis and breathwork to support someone?
I feel there's a deepening, right? So we're dropping in before we even lay down or get ready to breathe, getting in our bodies, getting present to all that is, right? And from that awareness, from that place of awareness, which is it's a little ironic, it's a little funny, because like we talked about, there's like the opposite going on. I want to forget about everything.
Yes.
No, we want to become aware of everything, because we are everything, right?
Yes.
So from that place, then going into the breath, you can feel empowered, right?
Yes.
And maybe it doesn't happen the first time. Maybe it does. But maybe it doesn't happen the first time. And it could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe I don't think this works, right? Or maybe I'm a little too distracted by what's going on outside, or this other thing that's going on in my life. But you can really drop in and get present,
go deep,
and aware of it all. Yeah. Like I said, we're everywhere, right?
Yeah, I forget that in my day to day. I mean, plant medicine is what reminds me of that, right? Plant medicine is what keeps me connected to that. Right.
And it isn't for everybody, right? That much I know to be true.
I agree. You mean cannabis, plant medicine?
Yes. Yes. And it could be for different reasons.
Sure.
But if you can get on board with what's possible for yourself, not to say this is going to be all I need, it's not a cure-all, this is an ally. And there are so many, right? But this is how I see it. This is
a very powerful ally.
Right. And I mean, maybe this is my way of saying, I hope that whoever's listening feels empowered by making the choice, right? To bring in this ally, right? Because intentionally, because it's there for you. Right? This is all for you if you choose to look at it that way.
That's right.
So that's what I mean. Like, I hope that whoever's listening or watching or whatever we do with this, they feel empowered at what is possible for them in life in general, right?
And cannabis can be supportive of that. too, cannabis and breath work.
Absolutely.
Really what you're offering here. So I know you're also a facilitator of the masculine, the divine masculine. We talked about a little bit too, that energy really runs through what you're teaching right now.
Ooh, yeah. And just as I told you, it's very much a more recent development or calling for me that, you know, I want to work with more men and really talk about and embody and teach and model what healthy masculine is and looks like and feels like.
What a gift. What a gift that so many men in this world need right now. So thank you for bringing that into the healing space. How can people work with you, Daniel? Where can we find you? Where can we get to know you a little bit more? Although we got 2 hours on the books, dude. This is epic. I know about the first time you got high. I know, you know, what's some serious stuff now. And you know a lot about my dependence on cannabis. I've learned a lot that I want to apply to my own cannabis practice today. And I can't thank you enough. And someone who's been smoking for over 20 years, you know, can learn something new. Like there is so much here. This is such a gift to so many people. So for anyone who's listening, if you know anybody who could benefit from any of the information that was shared, please do share this podcast episode with someone or on some platform so that we can reach as many people as possible about the healing benefits of plant medicine, specifically cannabis. Thank you, Daniel Villalobos.
Perfect. And I really wanted to, before I get into that, just actually, of course, thank you and just say, you know, with so much gratitude and love, I'm honored to have this conversation in the first place. And to your point about the dependency, I would also see if you can give yourself permission to take a tolerance break.
Whoa, what's that?
That's a challenge. No, that's an invitation. So that is intentionally, you know how people do fasting with eating, right? Mm-hmm. This is the same. You're sort of hitting reset, right? And letting your system recalibrate naturally, and then coming back into it with intention.
Oh my gosh, that is everything I needed to hear right now. And it was at this time last year that I did 14 intentional days, which was quite a record for me. So it's definitely the time of year when I slow down and I don't need as much performance enhancement. And I can sink into the new couch I just bought and enjoy my family and my holidays and maybe a couple of good books. So thank you for sharing that message for me and for anybody who needs a reset. What did you call it? A tolerance?
A tolerance break.
A tolerance break.
You can titrate that 1 to 3 days instead of 14 days.
Oh, yes. Brilliant. Right? Baby steps, bite sizes really work with all of this. Yeah. Up and down.
It's quality over quantity.
Tapering. Yeah, I believe in that. Thank you so much, Daniel. Please tell us where we can find you on the great World Wide Web.
In the World Wide Web. So I do have a website that is currently, you know, getting a facelift, right? But that's cannalifeguide.com. www.cannalifeguide. So that's CANNALIFEGUIDE.com.
Perfect.
I am also on Instagram. That would be Soul Flow Mojo.
Yes.
My handle, right?
We will link to it in the show. Oh, you can spell it out, dude, if you want. I will link everyone.
I feel like I'm in kindergarten right now.
It's a good name, though. Soul Flow Mojo. I've been encouraging Daniel to show up more on Instagram, so you'll all have to go follow him there so that he sees there are new people there who want to consume his content.
Awesome. Thank you.
Accountability works. Yes. Thank you for your support.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you want our listeners to know about you or them or cannabis or anything at all before we sign off today, Daniel?
Thank you for asking that. I more than anything, just to be very clear and let everybody know that this is about healing and transformation for me, always. So if that aligns with you, if you feel that, you know, in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit,
Yes.
I'm happy to have a conversation, right? And even if we don't get to work together, I will be sending you some love, sending you some energy, sending you vibrations.
That's what it's all about. Thank you for
It's all
being a
about.
channel for the transformation and the healing that is happening in the world today. I can't wait to see all that you're going to share with the world and all the ways we can maybe conspire to help as many people as possible transform and heal. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Rai. I
Daniel, for
appreciate
everything
you.
today.